Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFirio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer from Voga Coffee. You know, we're always trying to make coffee better. We're trying to serve the best to our customers. And while we can get the best coffee, oftentimes we're limited by our equipment. Well, the Ground Control Cyclops Brewer absolutely levels up our ability to showcase our coffee. The SCA award-winning technology in that machine gives you unprecedented control over a variety of flavors that previously with traditional batch brewers, you just didn't have access to. And you have control over it, so it's consistent every time. Not only is this a level up for batch brewing, but it's also versatile in that it can create tea, batched iced lattes, batch cold brew, has a small footprint, and it's just the total package. Go visit them over at groundcontrol.coffee to learn more. Really, if you're wanting quality, versatility, differentiation, and to serve the best to your customers, then you absolutely need to look into getting a Ground Control Cyclops Brewer for your cafe. Again, learn more over at groundcontrol.coffee. Today's episode is also brought to you by La Marzocco. La Marzocco has been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. That's a long time, people. That's darn near close to 100 years of serving the specialty coffee retail community globally with high-quality, dependable espresso machines that are also, at the same time, simply iconic. I mean, so many of us have grown up with La Marzocco. It's at the heart of some of the world's best coffee bars. Their innovations reflect their care for the community, like the KB90 machine with the built-in locking portafilters that really helps the ergonomics because it really gets tiring pulling shot after shot in the traditional way. They listened to the community and they actually created a machine around this. And that's just one example of so many that they have. When you visit them over at lamarzocousa.com, you can see all of their lineup of espresso machines, and they're available to help you choose the right one for you. When you email them at info@lamarzocousa.com, you can talk to the salespeople and get the right machine for your cafe. Again, reach out to them via email, info@lamarzocousa.com. Okay, everybody. Well, today's Shift Break comes to you at a time where a lot of us are gathering together with loved ones, those who are special in our lives, and being reminded of the importance of thankfulness. And today's Shift Break, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because, well, it's traditional that I kind of talk about thankfulness a little bit on the show from time to time. And it's hard. I'm going to be just honest with you sometimes. It's hard for me to remember to be thankful, and I feel like I'm usually pretty thankful. I'm usually thinking about, boy, I'm really glad for this. I'm glad for that. But when you're sitting down doing the work and you got your head down and you're just kind of doing it, it can be really hard to feel thankful. It can be hard to let it go down deep. There's a certain kind of thankfulness that we can have that's kind of like when somebody hands you something from across the room. You can say, thanks. Oh, yeah, well, I'm really thankful for that. Wow. You know, you can say it, and it's really surfacey, but it doesn't go down deep. And that's the kind of thankfulness that I'm after. That as I get older and I start to reflect on life, and not to get too deep, or maybe I'll just get deep, who cares? But I increasingly want to look at the things that truly matter. You know, we just had an episode with my friend Steven Zinnerman of The Coffee Enthusiast. In that episode, he talked about how in his growing family, he has 5 kids, it was one of the motivations that he had for doing better with The Coffee Enthusiast. And that motivation was a constant. That was his why. There's other things that he had, you know. There are other professional motivations that I have beyond other things in my life. But if I'm not practicing settling down, becoming still, and allowing myself to reflect on and meditate on those things that are currently mine and that I have and that are here and are for me and are good, then it's hard for me to feel the motivation that they have to offer when the pressure is on, when I'm tired, when I'm behind on a deadline, when I'm just feeling down. If I haven't been practicing thankfulness in a deep sense, then it's hard for me to call on it later on when I feel deeply troubled, when I feel deeply tired. Surface level thankfulness can't address the depth of some of the places that we go personally and professionally. And when we're involved in something that consumes us so much, like coffee, it's different than other jobs. There are jobs that people have out there that, they just do them because that it's a 9 to 5, it's a normal job, but coffee jobs are weird. We're weird people. And, I guess you could argue that everybody is kind of weird no matter what, but the fact that we've chosen coffee is always going to be a conversation starter for almost any social encounter you have. What do you do? Oh, I'm in coffee. Really? Why do they say it like that? Why do they think it like that? Because if they don't say it, they're thinking it like that, in that high-pitched tone. But because it's not normal. It's such a narrow range, a subcategory, a subculture, and we get to be in this. And so that's something I guess we could be thankful for also. I'm so thankful that for the past now 22 years, I've been able to make a living, not always the best living, but a living in coffee. And I love doing it, and it's the only profession that I have had, and I'm thankful for that. But I'll tell you, it is all-consuming in that it is a passion and a profession. If something is just a profession, sometimes it's easy to just switch it off. Be like, I'm not thinking about work at all after this. But when you're deep in it and it's your business, there's no shutting it off. Especially if you have ownership in something, it becomes all-consuming. And the fact that it's all-consuming makes it so that you don't feel you can stand on any given surface for very long for fear that you're going to miss something. So you're always on. And when we let that happen, it doesn't afford us the opportunity to let the good that is around us sink deeply into our bones and into our hearts and into our minds, so that it's there when we get down that low later in life. And this is stuff that I have learned, recently. And I have allowed myself to drop certain balls and allow certain bad things to happen. And they're not bad things like catastrophes. It's just I can't do everything. And so if I'm editing a podcast and I really want to finish it before a certain time, there are times where I just can't get to it because I have an obligation to my family, because I want to go out and run and jump in the leaves with my son, for example, most recently. And I'm just getting a little emotional here, but it's hard to imagine not being there, just getting the job done, but losing something that's infinitely more special and valuable than just accomplishing a goal, if you will. The goal is fine. The goal is fine to have, but what's the why behind it? And are we sacrificing the why when we're trying to do the thing that why fuels? Like if my why is to take care of my family and I'm like, well, I'm doing this for my family, or whatever your motivation is, and your family never sees you because you're doing things for your family, then it's not for your family. Or you genuinely believe that it's for your family, but you're just blinded by the all-consuming work, right? So I want to encourage you today to think about how you can slow down and create opportunity for deep thankfulness and balance in your life, and guard against letting this work consume you. As fun as it can be and as passionate as we are about it, the all-consuming nature of it can oftentimes allow other areas of our lives to atrophy, and that damages the foundation of who we are. I think this is a form of self-care. It is keeping work in check, and I think you'll love work a lot more when you can do it with the full knowledge that you're not sacrificing those other areas of life that are foundational to you as a person in order to get ahead at your job or your business. So that's what I wanted to talk to you all about today. And if you haven't listened to the conversation we had this week with Steven Zinnerman, I would encourage you to do that. That's episode 315. Suffice it to say, I really am thankful for all of you. I think about it a lot, and it is impossible for me to express to you just how much it means that you have listened to Keys to the Shop, that you've communicated with me about what it's done for you or your business, and introduced yourselves to me at shows and things like that. The impact of this show is way beyond me. It is an honor to be able to bring it to you. And I'm, again, deeply grateful for every single one of you. I hope you have an amazing day. Happy Thanksgiving. And I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break. From Keys to the Shop.